Tarquin, mic check. I want to do a quick mic check. Is your mic working? It seems like it's never working at the right time.
Check.
Yours work? Everyone's mic work?
Check.
Okay. Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Today is May 14th, 2024. This is our regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Rossmoor Community Service District. May we please have a roll call?
Roll call, Director Barkey?
Here.
Director Shade? Here. Director DeMarco?
Here.
Director Searles?
Here.
President Maynard?
Here. Tonight for our Pledge of Allegiance, we are blessed to have Daisy Troop 2093, sorry about that, and they're going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So come on up.
Jesse.
Please stand, face the flag, put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much.
Emerson, Amelia. Rossmoor. Rossmoor.
Thank you, girls.
Thank you, ladies.
So real quick, on the board, how many had a Daisy daughter in the Scouts?
Right here.
Right here.
Troop
Two
leader
out
as
of,
well.
there you go.
We did? Oh, yeah, we did.
Oh, you did. Okay, 3 out of 2, great.
Go ahead, Brown.
Brings back memories.
I know the difference. I don't.
Okay, today we're going to hop right in and do some presentations. Up first, we have Orange County Public Works. This is our flood control channel. Edward Ferranzo, the Deputy Director of Operations and Maintenance.
Hi.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. So I don't have a presentation. I thought I would just come and chat about some of the services that we offer as a reminder, the types of things that we work on here and things that you can ask us for help with. In general, we have 2 major groups. One is our road maintenance group, and the other is a flood channel maintenance group. So on the road side, we are pretty active. Right now, we have a lot of smaller work being done, ADA ramp repairs. We have curb and gutter repairs, drain cleaning going on. We do reconstruction of driveway approaches. We also have pavement rehab, which this is a smaller one, which could be pothole repairs or localized repairs. Sidewalk repairs. Sometimes this could entail just grinding the sidewalk down if it's not too bad, or replacing a full panel. And we also have a program that checks all the signs for reflectivity and will replace signs as needed. And we also do tree trimming and tree removal if necessary. And another item on the roadside is our annual striping refresh. So we come out and repaint the striping on the road just to make sure it's visible. On the flood control channel side, most of that entails restoring some of the slopes on the channels that are earthen slopes. And we do also have concrete repairs. So we have our inspector that goes out there if they see cracks or anything like that. on the side slopes of the channel. That's repaired. Fence repair, and also general vegetation maintenance. And that's more of our routine, regular maintenance that we perform. I did want to mention, and I can share the link with Joe, and perhaps he can share it on your meeting minutes, but we do have a site, My OCE Services, and on that site, anyone can log on, and if they want to request service, a map pops up and you can actually just drop a dot and identify what type of service you need, and it'll get to us in our queue, and we'll get out as soon as possible. In addition to the regular maintenance, we have our larger maintenance projects. So right now we have 3 in the works. One of them is for concrete channel panel repairs. This was one that was requested, I want to say some time ago, and it's been in the queue for a while, but it is coming up now this summer. So there were some areas of concrete channel where our previous engineering team had come out. They were trying to resolve an issue with seeping water, and they had dug out portions of the invert of the channel and replaced it with rock. We're actually going to come back and replace that with concrete, put it back to what it used to be. That was just an interim fix. We also have a second project that's planned for next fiscal year, and it's kind of doing the same thing, but it's looking at all the channels in the area and looking at just replacing all the concrete. Just because a lot of our infrastructure is aging now, typically the concrete has a lifespan of 50 to 75 years, and a lot of the infrastructure was put in 50 years ago or more. So it's just about that time that we need to come in and replace it. And then a little further out in 2027, that's when we'll be coming back to do our next round of pavement rehabilitation projects. We were just out, I believe, fairly recently, maybe last year or the year prior, doing a lot of slurry seals and overlays in the area. So we try to come back regularly just to keep up the pavement quality and prevent it from deteriorating. In general, that's all I had in terms of services. If there's anything that you need from the county, please feel free to reach out. I brought my business cards, and again, I can share my contact information. Feel free to share it with anyone in the community. If there's anything that you need, even if it's outside of operations and maintenance, it might be in the traffic group or in a different project team, I'll make sure to connect you with the right individual at the county. There was 2 more items I wanted to mention that I discussed with Joe previously. One was related to the Adopt a Channel program. So that program is run by a different group outside of my operations and maintenance team, and we did become aware that there was some Adopt a Channel related work performed recently. What I can do is talk to the individuals who do manage a program and ensure that next time they have an event or they're going to be out working in the channels, that they'll inform you ahead of time just to make sure that the communication's there. The second item has to do with taking a look at replacing some of the older chain link fence along the channels at the crossings with the roads. So Joe had asked about, is there something we can do to make it look better, perhaps replace it with new fencing, vinyl coated fencing or something like that. And I did chat with the team, and it is something that we can work with you on. So again, feel free to reach out and we can get together and see what other options there are to make it look a little nicer out there. Any questions for
Director, start on this end. Nope.
Just tell us, what does that include?
Usually, it'll be a private company or a private group. They'll reach out to us and ask, hey, we want to take care of this segment of channel. They'll coordinate with our environmental group, basically to come out and do regular cleanups. Usually, depending on the availability of whoever's adopting the channel, it may be quarterly and basically coming out and cleaning up trash. Things
So-
that our team would normally do ourselves, but it does help, and it helps to bring,
So it's
more
like debris and
attention.
trash cleanup, basically?
mhm.
Very good, okay.
Tony?
Yeah, thanks for being here. So you just said you were going to leave your card. So how does residents get a hold of maintenance, sidewalk or approaches or anything like that? How do you request that?
The best way is through the website on the My OCE services, but we do have 2 inspectors dedicated just to this area. One of them is a road inspector and one is a flood inspector. And I don't think I brought their contact information. But honestly, feel free to contact me directly. I have my email and my cell phone number, and I always keep my phone on me, so I'll make sure that the request
Okay.
gets to the appropriate team.
Thank you.
If I may, they're very available to use, and his staff, Carlos, I believe, and some of the other guys, and we're on with them every day. We're either sending something in on behalf of a resident or on the phone with them, so they provide great service.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
The other thing is, I thank you for looking into the chain link. I'm sure maybe they're not 60 years old, but they're very old, that chain link. I don't know, another material might look better, like wrought iron fencing or something like that, but I'm glad that the county's looking into it because it's kind of rough looking. So I'm glad that you're looking into that. And I know this is more towards vector control, but when you say you're going to replace the concrete in the channels, is there a flow? Is there supposed to be a flow in the channel? Is it supposed to be on grade?
Yes.
Why does it, now I know we've had a lot of rain, but like even if you go look out today, there seems to be a lot of stagnant water. Why is that?
There's a couple of reasons. One is it just happens to be very flat out there, so there isn't a lot of grade. And I think that might have been a miscalculation on behalf of perhaps who was working on the previous interim solution, because I think it would be better to replace everything with concrete. It makes the water flow.
And right now, it's
better
just,
over.
it's just rock and, oh, I
So it
see.
tends to sit there.
Got it.
Over time, just due to regular settlement or as the ground settles underneath the concrete, sometimes you can get adverse settlement and it might not flow in the right direction anymore. But when we come out there to replace all the panels, we're going to make sure to get as much slope as we can so that it drains better.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
Director Searles?
Am I correct to understand you're responsible for like the sidewalks as well? Is that correct?
Yes.
So if a resident were, I know one of the things we have with the arborist talks about is the parkway, but between the sidewalk and the street, someone has poured concrete on that, and now the tree isn't, taking. And usually the real issue comes with the subsequent owner. Is that something that person could contact you about and say, like, I have nothing to do with this concrete that's been poured in the parkway, but, it's not helping my tree grow, it's really making a mess of things, and, you have the equipment, I guess, to take that out. Is that something that a resident could contact you about?
Yes, we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
No, not just the sidewalks, but you said the connector portions of the streets that come together.
Yes, we
Okay.
do that as well.
So I'm going to let you know of a spot right now since you're here and you asked.
Okay.
Brimhall and Silver Fox. There's a big old chunk missing right at that intersection in the middle. It's on my walk. I see it all the time, and you see like the broken rocks right there going, oh, it's not good.
Okay, we'll make sure that gets.
And
allowed.
then back with what Tony was mentioning is it's not just sometimes an eyesore, but it looks like pond scum. It looks like greenish stuff. It looks like a breeding ground for mosquitoes. And I could see where there's a cross jurisdiction between vector control and what you're doing. But every time I look at it, it does not look healthy. And I don't know what the answer is and how proactive you have to be at cleaning up pond scum, because that's what it looks like. And it probably isn't pond scum, but it's just this green stuff, stagnant water, and I know that West Nile is real. The doctor here says bleach will work if you needed that, but somehow there needs to be coordination and leadership between the different departments, because I could see it being so easy for you to say, well, no, that's vector control. And I could see vector control saying, well, that's public works. The bottom line is, if you go by Montecito, where one of the first driveways is, I don't know, near Copa de Oro maybe? I don't know exactly where those intersections are, but every time I look at it, you will see standing pond scum, water. And we're probably right now in the time where it needs to be attacked the most, because this is starting mosquito season. So thank you for coming here. Thanks for hearing us out. And I look forward to you coming back and saying, we fixed this, and this.
What would you do to clean it up if you wanted to?
I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if it's a crew of people with brushes. I don't know if it's,
You can drain the water, but there's just going to be more water.
I don't know the answer. I just know that,
I think it's a short term. If you're going to replace with concrete, it's going to flow. And what he's telling us is there's big boulders and rocks and stuff, and it stops.
Yeah.
So after 4, 5, 6 inches, it's just going to lay. And like Michael's saying, I would say most of the channel is water in it right now. Still, yeah.
still water.
So-
Not still again, as in remaining, but it's
And
still
again,
nasty
we
water.
asked the vector control when they were here, because it was there when he was here a few times ago, are you spraying, or, because it is mosquitoes starting to become, as soon as it gets warm, we got the stagnant water. So, the short term is dealing with all that stagnant water right now, and then long term is, if you could get it all cemented, it's going to evaporate, and, during the summer and the hot portions of the day, it's going to, number one, flow, drain, and then the excess small waters is going to evaporate.
Yep.
So,
Yeah,
what
I think that's the best approach, is just getting the water out of there. So
Yep.
if we can get it draining properly, then there won't be anywhere
Yep.
for the.
But I think for right now is someone needs to come and look at the standing water that is going to be breeding grounds to mosquitoes.
I think we do have a pretty good partnership with Vector Control, so, we'll make sure on our part, until we can repair the final fix, we'll make sure that Vector is aware of it and is out there to spray.
If I may add, vector control is scheduled to come out to us next month. Next month is a mosquito awareness month throughout the county, so they will be here to make presentations. In all fairness to flood control and vector control, because I've looked into this many times after receiving complaints, there are a number of residents who have jerry-rigged pipe and drainage that goes into the flood channel, and it just keeps adding to it, and they might not be able to keep up with it. But if you go down a flood channel and you look, you'll see white pipe coming out of certain
Oh, Joe.
residents that
Or
are
like
contributing
runoff,
to that.
Well,
Rain runoff?
Joe, who's the code enforcement for
Right.
enforcing that?
That's-
So invite them over to walk the channels too.
Yeah. But FYI,
No, I see them, I hear what you're saying. It's like, it's drainage.
yeah,
They're draining in the canal, which is not legal,
no.
right?
You
It can
can
be.
have an easement, yeah, I do.
You can
I-
apply for a permit.
Yeah,
So you can have an easement for drainage.
yes, I have a drainage in my yard for this,
Oh,
that I
okay.
had to pay extra in my property tax.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Okay. we're not-
No, I just,
That's
it's
good,
a
I'm glad-
fascinating point to
Yeah.
know that
Yeah.
it's.
But again, to me, if it was flat and drained properly.
Right.
If it was
wouldn't have nothing
covered,
to do with
if it was
mine.
covered and drained properly, like most cities and places are, we wouldn't have this discussion. The mosquitoes wouldn't be able to get in. So,
Or you just didn't see them.
yeah, or we just don't see it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. Please don't be a stranger. Come on
Yes.
back and
Oh,
visit.
definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you again for having me.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Moving on for presentation, 4B, California Highway Patrol Officer Zeffirino Volado-Vinos.
President Maynard, he has not arrived. I don't know if he's gonna on his way or will be coming. Maybe he got diverted, but when he comes, I'll let you know if he is able to make a presentation.
Okay. I was just glad that I think I said his name right, so. Moving on, we have a public forum right now. First on the list is James Fisher, or Fizzler, thank you. Orange County LAFCO Special District Representative.
Good evening, President Maynard, directors, staff, and members of the public. I'm Jim Fissler, Mesa Water District Director for 15 years. It's been an honor to serve you on OC LAFCO for the past 14 years. I can tell you I have positively influenced decisions on that commission that have protected local control, benefited not just special districts, but cities, the county, and unincorporated areas. When I came to you in 2018 to ask for your vote for the voting member seat, because I've been an alternate, I made you two promises. One, to make a culture change at OC LAFCO. I've been working on it already, but to continue that, to make it less of a feared agency or a consolidator of special districts, but rather a resource for special districts and not an initiator against special districts, but just a facilitator to help special districts, to be partners with them. And I can say, as I go around to the special districts, that people have noticed the change there. I hope you have in dealing with them. Also, they are a great resource now. We've done 2 major website upgrades where you can find pretty much everything you want. Applications, past MSRs, MSR schedules, maps of spheres of influence and cities, all that. So it's quite a resource. My second promise to you, though, was increased outreach and relationship building between OC LAFCO and who we serve has always been one of my top priorities. And so I've been visiting the special districts every year, or every 12 to 14 months, all of them, to speak with them about their priorities and concerns, and to just hear your voices year-round, not just at election time. So I was trying to build the relationship between OC LAFCO and me and the special districts. So, but since I'd already been doing that, I said I was going to increase that. So what I did 4+ years ago is started the Special District Dialogue. It's an emailed publication that goes to every special district concerning matters at OC LAFCO relating to special districts. One went out about 8 days ago. I think you have a copy of it in front of you, but it's best emailed. I mean, it's emailed, and you need to read it on a computer because there's a lot of links there that will take you to many pages. We purposely keep that to just one page, so you have to hit links. That enabled more touches to you, and so I would say that the 2 promises that I made about culture change at OC LAFCO and increased outreach, promises made and promises kept. I was here early October last year on my annual visit, and tonight, though, I'm here on a re-election tour, my 4-year tour. And so I have been in the audience a year before I ever got on LAFCO, so 15 years of watching LAFCO, and I've missed 3 meetings. I think that makes me the most committed, experienced, and knowledgeable candidate in the race. And a little aside, you have a copy of a letter from the other candidate on the letterhead of South Coast Water District, I believe, Joe Miller. I know it's spelled Muller, but it's pronounced Miller. He has, this morning, he has withdrawn from the race, and he has endorsed me wholeheartedly. As he got to know me as we went around campaigning, he realized a lot of special districts never ever saw a LAFCO commissioner, much less someone every year. And so he appreciated what I've done, and he's come out and endorsed me. So I'm asking for your consideration to vote for me. I have not won the race because he's left. The ballot's printed. Anyone can send in ballots. So if you support me, don't think I've won. I need a ballot return to OC LAFCO. But with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Start this side. Director Schultz,
No, I have nothing.
Director DeMarco.
Jim, thanks for coming out tonight. Have you heard of AB 2986 in Sacramento?
Is that the one with the revenue?
No, that's the one Wendy Carrillo is about getting East LA possibly a special district, or actually doing a feasibility study from LAFCO. So it's a bill through Sacramento, just a bill now, to form a committee in LA County to see if East Los Angeles is fiscally viable to have local governance. Okay?
Okay.
And so my question is, and I have a business in East LA, so I'm involved in it. But my question to Orange County LAFCO, since you sit on the board, is what is Orange County's LAFCO's position on islands of unincorporated areas in terms of what's your board's position on local governance for them? So is it, because it seems to me that and I'm sure all of us don't know the ins and outs of LAFCO, okay? We don't really, there's not too many, like how many service districts like Rossmoor are there in Orange County? What community service district?
Well, there's Capistrano Bay Community Service District.
And is
that's
that an
it.
unincorporated island? Is it all unincorporated, or does it go inside of a city jurisdiction or anything like that, or is it just
It's not an island. I've never really thought about it. I thought
what's
Capistrano was a
their
city.
latent powers?
Boy, they do lighting,
Okay.
various things like that.
Okay, so I guess my question is, what is LAFCO's position for islands? Because what I'm finding out in LA County is, large areas, like East Los Angeles is 12 times larger than Rossmoor, and yet there is no fiscal numbers. You don't know what is being produced or what is being spent. So it's like, thank goodness Rossmoor has a service district, because at least we see some of, the money back to the community, and we manage it. We manage some contracts, but, places like Lemon Heights and other unincorporated islands, they don't see any of revenue, or there's no budget. There's no financial information, and I come to learn this just because in LA County, which there's a different LAFCO, LA County LAFCO.
Right.
And I'm asking you because you're on Orange County, and they're like against East LA from finding out the numbers. They don't want them to find out the numbers. So that's why I'm asking you, what is Orange County's position on, islands finding out financial numbers in terms of viability, in terms of self-governance, or in terms of annexation or things like that? Or does your board sit neutral, or would you prefer one way or another?
Okay, so I officially can only speak for myself, but I have a pulse of the board, and I know what we've been, as a commission, including with staff, has been working towards. When I started 14 years ago, we had over 40 islands, and we're down to 25. Now, those are the toughest 25. And we eventually get one every now and then, but it is difficult.
When you say get one,
We get rid of one.
Okay.
It gets annexed. Yeah, and so into a city. And so then
none of those, in your example, none of those turn to a service district. They're all annexations?
No, they haven't. They've been annexed into a city, and we can't. At LAFCO, we're prohibited from planning, so we don't do the governance. What LAFCO does is make sure that there's the efficient delivery of municipal services, water, sewer, police, make sure those services are available. And that, and as we do the study, we have to, how is it financed and is that sustainable? You know, I mean, that's what the MSRs that you go through every 5 years are, is how's your model working? Is it sustainable? Do we need to give you hints how to improve or not? So our LAFCO position, it's much more efficient to have it in the city than have to have the county service the islands. But haven't seen one for a little bit, just little sections here and there, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't want it to happen to residents because they might have chickens and things that aren't allowed in the city, and so they like to remain unincorporated. So that's always sort of the battle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Director Shade,
No questions here, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Director Barkey.
Thanks for coming, Jim.
You're welcome.
Good luck with your election, non-election.
Yeah, thank you. I just have to encourage people, don't think I won now. I mean, it's nice to have your opponent endorse you now.
Yeah.
But I still need the vote. So, I thought maybe there was going to be a question about MSRs.
Oh,
when
I haven't gone yet.
Oh,
I
good.
always save myself to the end.
I know you do.
So-
I thought you were about to let me
Okay.
go. Sorry, jumped the gun.
All right. When is the next schedule MSR for Rossmoor?
Well, fiscal year 24-25 is the year. And you're
And
in
that's defined as what month?
July 1st of this year
It's
to
a July,
June
okay.
30th of next year. And you're in the coastal region, so they're going to be doing MSRs for 8 special districts, including my own Mesa Water, and 5 cities. So it'll be 13 MSRs done.
In one
that
year.
That year. We hire consultants, our staff, we have a staff of 5, so we hire a consultant called RSG Group that does most of the information gathering. So I've asked staff, I always ask before I visit a district to get up to speed, so I've asked staff, when are you going to hear from them? They just basically said, early fall. I'm going, well, it's early fall. Oh, September, August or September. So that's where you would get like a heads up, let's call it, questionnaire. I don't have a copy of that questionnaire. I actually provided a questionnaire after the MSR, so you'd be aware what they're going to ask you after. That's all I could get from staff. Because they're going to ask you how much time you spent and stuff, so you have a copy of that. Because if you didn't know they were going to ask that until after you did it all, you might not have been counting hours, and we'd like to know how to make it efficient. You might remember Chair, now he's immediate past Chair, Doug Dabbert always came with me, and our promise was try to make MSRs as simple as possible for the districts because they were burdensome in the past. So that questionnaire sort of probably came from that because to see how we're doing with you guys on MSRs. So you'll get this questionnaire. Definitely fill it out, whatever those questions are. Not that end one, you'll get that at the end that I provide, but you'll get a heads up questionnaire, fill it out, send it back. That allows RSG consultants to begin looking at your district. And then from that point on, LAFCO staff and RSG consultants will start gathering information on your district. Then they will send you a kickoff letter, basically, with a lot of questions, and you'll answer those. And that's when you maybe log your time, let them know how long it took you to answer those questions. And then you'll get the draft MSR with some fine tuning, and then a final MSR.
I would like to be a little more proactive as our agency.
Okay?
I know we're supposed to have an MSR every 5 years. That hasn't always happened.
Correct.
As a community, go back 10, 12 years ago, we had this huge event during the first initial freeway projects where coyotes decided they wanted to live in Rossmoor and eat our pets. 1 year alone, we lost 140 pets. And there was nothing we can do with it because we did not have animal control, nor did we have a supervisor who cared. He wouldn't do it because he didn't want to spend the money. We had to get a volunteer organization to help us out to give him the money so he can then do what was right. But during that time frame, the board, this board, identified that there are 3 areas that we wish we had more local control of. And that was animal care because, again, let's us have the ability to put to take care of coyotes in our flood channels in our neighborhoods to save our pets. We wanted to have more control over a trash contract, because currently, when you look at the amount of trash residences, we are the largest Orange County user of individual trash cans, being, 3,800 homes in a county environment. And then the other one that we liked was to have more control over policing, meaning it would be nice to actually see the sheriff's car with the Rossmoor logo on it, have more local control. And in general, the theory, and I still stand by it, I'm a big local control guy just like you. But when you're the ones who write the checks, you get more answers. You get better service because you're holding the purse strings. So we started going down the route of what it would take to do that. And eventually, we got stopped because there was one of the first LAFCO consolidations, and it cost one special district $250,000 to $300,000. And that's where we finally felt the pain of, can we do it? Can we administer and govern? Everything was good go until all of a sudden, we now have to sponsor the MSR at a fee of $300,000. So now knowing that we're, 8 months away, 6 months away from a municipal review, I think, like you said, changing the culture. How can we change this particular MSR to be a tandem working team to identify not just miscomings, but improvements? The fact that Seal Beach has its own animal control, and guess what? When a resident in Seal Beach loses their pet, they don't have to drive all the way down into Orange County. They just go over the 605 into Long Beach because they contracted there because it's a great facility and it's more convenient for their residents. Everything that and this board, I would hope, would be going after is, does it add value to the residents of Rossmoor? Does it add convenience to the residents of Rossmoor? So where I'm again going with this is, I don't know on your end, but I would love to have a spirit of not just cooperation, but rolling up the sleeves with our district, with anyone besides me who wants to step up and help with this in our community, and actually really review the MSRs, and actually come up with just not cookie cutter, not boilerplate, but really what is going on and how can you improve it to improve the lives of the Rossmoor resident.
Well, that's tremendous that you think like that. I really appreciate that. I'm actually working with another special district that lost some sphere of influence, and they wanted to get it back. And if they would have pursued a separate MSR, it would have cost them, I don't know how much, not that much, but maybe, $80,000 to $100,000. I said, you haven't had it for a few years. You have an MSR coming up in 2 years. Just ask for the sphere of influence change on that. It'll be free. And that's what they're doing actually this year, trying to get it back. So I do remember, I was probably a new alternate learning all the in and outs of LAFCO.
Yeah.
I remember you talking with John Morlock, who was a commissioner, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
I remember you were for animal control and policing. I didn't know about the trash part.
Yeah.
And I thought it had something to do with revenue to come up with it, but the main point is, now is the time to bring those up when you're in the MSR cycle.
Exactly.
So you're not doing a special one. So I'm here to help you. Doug Dabbert is here to help you. We really like to do that.
Perfect.
And
yeah. And I don't like using the term latent powers. It confuses people. It's a power grab. No, it's local control.
Right.
And way back when, I'll tell you when, in 1987, on that seal, our forefathers of Rossmoor created this community service. And they went through all the things that they can check off. And they made a few checks. They sent it in California. If hindsight's always 20/20,
Right.
if they would have just checked everything off, whether they wanted a library or not, they now have the legal right to do it. So there was a little short-sightedness in 1987 when the community service was applied for within the state. So I do want to work with you. I do want to work with your colleagues in identifying, and if it's as simple as getting LAFCO on board too, saying, here's the areas of local control, that if the will of Rossmoor its board and its community says they want that control, they will have that control.
Yeah, so they'll do the MSR, and they're going to
Okay.
see how it can be facilitated, if there's a model that they can come up with to do that. And, I mean, I'm always trying to get to yes on those kind of things. And so if I continue in the commission, I will be right in there to help you. If I'm not still on the commission, I'll probably still show up and lobby for you when it comes up, because Doug Dabbert will still be on, and I will notify him of what we talked about tonight. So we will definitely join forces with you and try to have this happen.
When are ballots due?
June, I'm not sure, June 10th.
Have they
or
even
something.
been issued yet?
Yeah, the ballots are out.
It's on the agenda.
No, it's on
tonight.
our agenda, we're gonna
I
vote
think they're
later on.
due.
Oh, we're voting tonight.
I think they're due June
You might get
10th or
lucky.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to get, they have to be returned though. I mean, so here everyone's congratulating me early on. Hey, you just won, your opponent has not only withdrawn, he's endorsing you. And then I'm going, yay, and then Doug calls me up and says, legal counsel says, no, the majority of the districts have to vote for you.
Okay. Well, we're going to vote on it tonight.
Okay,
I got a secret.
Okay.
You got my vote.
thank you,
So,
thank you.
all right, thank you so much.
Thank you
Any
for
other
your time.
questions? Nope. Thank you for your time, sir. And I'm serious, I want to work with you on this.
Oh, definitely, yeah,
Okay.
me too. Taking notes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, we have David this time it's handwriting, guys. Van de Borsk? There we go. Yes, we have.
So first, I wanted to thank you for having your meetings on Zoom, because I watch them every month. Now, last month I was watching from Hawaii, but I still keep my eye on you. But I'm really here to talk about the flood control channel, and I live on Shakespeare, and I disagree. I've lived on Shakespeare probably longer than this man's been alive, and until the last 3 or 4 years, the flood control channel that goes under Shakespeare between Harrisburg and Montecito flowed very well. Now it's been backed up constantly, large 12, 15-inch diameters of slime in there. 2 years ago, I went to the website and reported it. Someone said they were going to come out and check it. I got a report 2 months later and said, well, we'll have to clean something up, but nothing ever happened. If you look at where the flood control channel makes a bend and goes down under Foster, it runs clean. So there's something blocking. As far as you can see, when you're standing on Shakespeare looking down that channel, it's blocked as far as you can see. I've sent Joe pictures of it, and I've maybe sent you guys pictures I took of it. Nothing's happening, and the mosquitoes are so bad that most of the neighbors there have to have a mosquito system company come by and spray. So I don't understand why that channel for 4 years has been backed up constantly with no drainage at all. And slime, circular things of moss and stuff growing in there, the water doesn't flow. So I'm asking you guys to put some pressure on the county to make them come take care of it. Again, because it's working where it goes on Foster by Lee School, it's clean. So there's something down there that hasn't been cleaned up. So thank you.
Thank you.
I agree.
I'll see you at the UPS store again.
There you go. Next up, we have Susan Kaplan.
Good evening. Have the rules changed? Is the open forum now a dialogue that we can have?
It's at our discretion.
But certainly, we've had a history of representatives like Jim from LAFCO come up during our public forum and talk. So, and we've had others in the past that are making a longer presentation that are in the agenda, and general managers put them under public forum. So we've had several people from outside of Rossmoor been put into the public forum.
Specific for LAFCO, it made more sense in public forum because he was here as a candidate tonight, not on behalf of his agency. That's why it wasn't in a presentation.
Okay. So, I came here prepared to be within the 3-minute segment that I thought the rules were. So, here we are. 2 years ago this month, I walked the perimeter of Rossmoor Park to survey the homes about a little-known plan to insert pickleball on one of the tennis courts. My survey showed that 85% of homeowners wanted an environmental input study before a noisy new sport called pickleball was going to be implemented. That survey was given to General Manager Mendoza in a face-to-face meeting almost 2 years ago to the day. Since then, pickleball was implemented without sound mitigation by a vote of 3 members of this board, Directors Barkey, DeMarco, and Maynard. These 3 ignored the input of directors Mark Nidickman and Jeff Rips, who pledged that if we do it, we will do it right. They also ignored the input of 2 of our current board members, Joe Shade and Nathan Searles, who have tried to advance that pledge to do it right, but sadly are in the minority. Most egregiously, this threesome has ignored community input. In the 2 years since my walk around this park, a sham trial was put in place that involved 3 courts, not 4, that measured not one piece of objective data, such as hours played, resident versus non-resident usage, walk-ons versus paid, noise levels at various times of the day, parking congestion. And they made a mockery of 2 hired acoustic consultants who advised noise mitigation recommendations that were completely ignored. Most recently, the 3 board members, Maynard, DeMarco, and Barkey, ignored 2 signed petitions from our community, who had the gall to ask for effective sound mitigation for the pickleball courts, one with over 50 signatures, one with 13. The 13 was for all of those who live on Baskerville. There's apparently nothing that will get any attention, let alone empathy, from this threesome. In fact, their general manager, Mendoza, answered the petitions in writing with, and I quote, "The addition of mitigation blankets and gate panels has not been planned or scheduled." Why this arrogant posture to deny noise mitigation for your noisy pickleball courts? We see what you choose to do. We see you wasting our tax dollars with reckless spending. $65,000 that was never budgeted for pickleball is now going to pay for unnecessary premature court resurfacing of the 4 tennis courts and basketball courts, just done in 2019, still in good condition. Spending money on permanent pickleball posts and nets when using portable posts and nets you already purchased is working just fine, which is what most parks do. In one of your board meetings, Director Maynard thought an RCSD logo in the middle of the basketball court would be a great idea for RCSD branding. Seriously? It was taken seriously enough to get an estimate on the cost, $15,000. How did a $15,000 logo ever find its way into this trio's dialogue when noise mitigation has been summarily dismissed? It's obvious our voices mean nothing to you 3. So our energies will be spent to continue to make transparent your tone deafness. There is an upcoming election this November when Directors Barkey and DeMarco's terms come to an end. Our energies must be used to hold them accountable and make sure they are not reelected to sit on this RCSD board again.
Thank you. Jody, I see that we have you, but I think you're part of the agenda, if you're here for RHA. Sure, please, of course, of course.
Thank you. And to be honest, it was on my calendar, and my two colleagues from the RHA who were supposed to be here tonight couldn't come last minute. So I think I know what I'm supposed to ask, and I will in a minute, but I just wanted to state a few things as a citizen. And as an RHA member, we do had our meetings over at Rossmoor Park on Tuesday nights, and more than once we saw the pickleball courts being used. And I saw one night, it was actually 4 generations of family members, I'm assuming, using the pickleball courts. So it was quite lovely. And I just wanted to share that with you, that I think that's a wonderful decision that you made regarding pickleball. I also wanted to mention Adopt a Channel. Our Rossmoor.com is a website that the RHA hosts, and on that website they talk about doing Adopt a Channel cleanup. They did the Rossmoor stormwater channel, and they picked up 87 pounds of broken glass, wire, plastic, and zip ties, among other things. I'm sorry that they didn't directly alert this body about that going on, but I know that several RHA members did go to homes along the channel to alert them that they were going to be doing the cleaning last weekend.
Did they actually climb into the channels to clean it out?
Yes, they did. Yeah, and they wanted to alert people that there's not fraudulent, and they dressed in yellow vests. It's kind of a nice article, and we have a few more people who want to do that, and we kept the group kind of small because we weren't sure how that was going to go. It was the first time. I know we applied as an RHA 2 years ago to have those responsibilities. Coming up later in the year, we're going to be doing the Kempton channel, so we'll be better about communicating that. I know that when they did the Rossmoor stormwater channel, that they found several nuisance algae blooms, and so that's something reported, but I don't know if that was reported to Edward or not. His body, I'll certainly get back with that. I also wanted to mention is that the RHA has a HUGS program. We're going to be much more proactive with Rossmoor schools about understanding what's going on in the schools and trying to get the information out about fundraisers and ways that community members can directly help our schools. We're going to be proposing a committee that will support that. Another thing I just wanted to mention is that for Neighborhood Watch, which the RHA also does, is not all streets have a captain. Not all streets are represented. And we're really trying to partner better with our schools to make sure that there's that good communication. And my official business, I can do that real quick, if it won't take very long. Okay, so I'm going to put my RHA hat. I'll mention is that we had elections. Elections normally go out, but since we only had 2 slots to be filled, we won't be sending out a ballot. And at our next RHA meeting, we'll be voting on the 2 new candidates, who are Christina Sokol and Tracy Lazar, to be added to our board. The other piece is we're hoping to do a candidate forum. We've done that in the past, and I feel like we have some pretty good representation, or pretty good expertise in doing so. Since it really is a community event, we're hoping that you'll consider waiving the fees for using this facility to conduct that sort of event. And it's a little bit different we're not making any money or anything about that with that type of event. It's truly for the community, and it's truly a community service. And with that, I'll conclude.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to cover that in G2,
Oh,
the candidate.
I
meeting.
apologize
So
for not.
stick around.
Okay, I
Stick
will.
around.
I will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on, we are now at D1, reports to the board. This is our Parks Facilities Maintenance Report by our very own Omero Perez.
A little shorter. Good evening, everybody. I'm here to present my quarterly report to the district. Inspection of district properties. All the facilities at Rossmoor, Rush Park, and Montecito Center are in good shape. Significant activities this quarter. The following projects and activities should be noted. These were performed beyond the regularly scheduled parks and facility maintenance tasks. Contractors literally coated and restriped Rush Park parking lots and also redirected the entrance and the exit traffic arrows in the parking lot. And actually today we installed the final signs on it to redirect the traffic. And contractor serviced all the partitions here in the auditorium at Rush Park. Also, contractor grinded down some tripping hazards over at Rossmoor Park. District staff installed the Tree City USA signs and Prop 68 signs in all the parks. Regular maintenance performed. District staff continues to inspect district properties and continues performing maintenance as follows: daily, weekly, quarterly, and monthly. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Any questions?
I want to say thank you for the, I see the installation of the baby changing stations at Montecito Center. That's just wonderful. I think, every parent thinks about the time they didn't have one and they could have used one, so I love seeing that. Otherwise, parks look great. What is your impression with regards to the new landscaper?
Well, with we're still working with them on how we want things to be done in the timing and like I said, the schedule and everything. And I know that they're working on getting a bigger lawnmower to be able to mow the parks faster. But other than that, it seems like we're still working with them. Like I said, trying to get them to do what we want and what we need and what's best for the community. Okay.
Additionally, so I mean, I'm living around here. I know that there's a younger softball program going on here, which is great. But it does make me think, what is like the lawn maintenance plan between now and I guess really next month, because after that it gets too hot, you don't mess with the grass. So what's your future projects for grass and stuff look like?
For the grass, well, I know that we have a lot of events, a lot of concerts and movies in the park, but with Mr. Mendoza, and then what we do is we select different areas to reseed him in between, and that way they don't get like so worn out, and hopefully we still have we're not under water restrictions to be able to receive those areas on the water time and everything.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Anything, Joe?
Mayor, I just want to say thank you for everything that you do.
You're welcome.
We have an amazing staff. You guys are great. I know all of you guys, and you guys are just rock it out there. So thank you.
Thank you. We do our best. Thank you.
Director Barkey. I have a follow-up question to Director Searles. I was at the event this weekend, the health event. Great job organizing. I did notice a lot of weed in our turf.
Yes.
Is your seeding going to be weed and seed? Is that what? I know that's the stuff that consumers can go and buy at Home Depot, but what is your thought with all the weeds that we have? Now, from a distance, they look green and pretty, but when all of a sudden you walk on it, you notice we do have a lot of weeds.
Definitely. The weeds, it's a part of the fact that we can't apply any Roundup or any chemicals on the grass, like Roundup, to be able to kill the weeds. And I think the other one is the Speed Zone, the one that years back we used to be able to apply to the grass to be able to keep it more
So there
grass.
isn't a product to help you with this?
There is some, there is some stuff that's organic, and that's what they call it, organic, I guess, weed killers, but they don't kill the weeds completely, they just kind of, they go dormant.
So Omer, if I may, Omer and I have a meeting this week with Landcare to go over some of the issues that Director Ciro's brought up and you're bringing up. As Omero stated, the speed zone and what's the other one, the main one, they kill the roots. This other herbicide just kills the top of the weed and it keeps coming back. So what we plan to do is we plan to mow low, fertilize, and add some seed in order to overtake it. And that's what we've been trying to do on an annual basis. But yeah, we're fighting, it's a battle. Yep.
Okay.
And also, I think sometimes, I think we prefer weeds than nothing up there, right? I know this is not just a nice comment, but weeds, I don't want to contradict myself, but yeah, so.
So how long have you worked here?
I'm going to 31 years.
I have a card here that says Homero Perez, 25 years of service.
Omero, we checked your jacket today, it's 25. You might have worked with the contractor before that.
Oh.
But anyhow, I want to thank you. I think we all want to thank you. We got,
Oh,
I take it like, yeah, we did all this. No, Joe did. So here.
thank you, folks. Yeah, since 1994.
Wow.
Omero, that means you would be 85. Let's try that again. Everybody, yeah. Yep.
Well, I'm gonna steal a few seconds again. I just wanted to thank you, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, for this and for the recognition. I enjoy working for the RCSD. This was probably my first job, and I'm still here. I love working for this community, and I deeply, sincerely, I thank you guys, thank you, gentlemen, for giving me the opportunity to work for this community.
The pleasure is ours.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Romero.
All right.
Thank you, Omero.
Okay, we're now at our consent calendar. Routine and non-controversial to be acted upon by the board at one time. But if any board member requests an item be removed and dealt with separately, we shall do so. Any motions or requests to separate items on the consent? Then do we have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We are now going into our public hearing. This is our fiscal, do I use the gavel to declare a public hearing? We are now in a public hearing. Otherwise, I would not have done that. So this is our fiscal year 2024-2025 proposed final budget for the Rossmoor Community Service District. Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you. President Maynard, members of the board. Before I get started, we had a public comment that the resident could not make it tonight, and I'm asking Carolyn Wayne to please summarize the input that we received today. Carolyn?
No,
No.
no. And we did a mic check.
No. Carolyn didn't do a mic check.
How about now?
Now, there we go.
The request came from Mary Ann Remnant, received today. Her request was to distribute her concerns regarding the deferred compensation matching fund that's being proposed within the 24-25 budget for approval. Correspondence has been distributed to the RCSD Board of Directors, our General Counsel, and she has asked that the public record reflect her comments for permanent records.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'll walk you through the 24-25 proposed final budget. Tonight, as you stated, President Maynard, that it's an open public hearing, and we have already received the proposed final budget presentation from myself and our accountant last month. Tonight, we can take public testimony if anybody would like to speak on it. I'd like to close the public hearing, deliberate with the board, and we're asking you to approve the 24-25 proposed final budget for final review at the next public hearing, June 11th. As you know, there's three stages. One is the preliminary budget, tonight's the first hearing, and then next month is the final budget hearing. And we do advertise those dates in the paper, so we make sure the public's aware of it, and we, of course, put it on our website. So the other one is number 7, and this is, I believe, one of the areas that our resident asked us to review closely, was discuss amending the deferred compensation policy to address the parameters of the employer matching and employee vesting. So going in the background, I've already pointed out what we've done and where we're going with this. So moving right along, I would like to mention that the board did approve a 3% cost of living adjustment that's within this budget. The board also amended to the existing deferred compensation plan. The amendment would offer full-time employees up to 3% employer match as part of the budget planning process. The board will conduct an annual audit of the plan and would have the ability to suspend the matching portion of the plan at their discretion, apparently depending on what our financial situation is each year. Newly hired full-time employees will be eligible for plan enrollment immediately. Employee matching would begin following a successful 90-day probation period. The plan will also have a 1-year vesting period. So as we've lined out, there are plans in line to make sure that the district is protected on a long-term expense program, that they would be expending money to the staff and to the matching grant program, but they would also be able to suspend it if we were in a financial bind. The reason this is coming to you tonight, and this was coincidence, I'm sorry that I didn't mean to put the board on the spot here, but Omero is coming up on a 25-year anniversary in a couple of days. I think Chris is at 14 years, Mary's at 12, Jessica's at 14. So we do have some long-term employees who have been very dedicated to us. We do not have a formal retirement plan, and this would be a supplement to that. So basically, this is based on the ability to retain staff, show them some appreciation. It's an alternative to a retirement plan that would be long-term, a long-term deficit to our district, which we probably could not sustain. And it's very common practice amongst a number of cities, districts, and throughout corporate USA. So I think it's a viable option. I'd like the board to consider it. There are a number of policies that if you look at page 37, and I'll briefly go over some items. On page 37, under salaries and benefits, and 10501040XX, our accountant has put a deferred compensation match line item The maximum that this would cost the district, the maximum, if each employee took advantage of it and did the max 3%, is $10,900 at an annual
Let's slow
basis.
down. You said page 37.
No, well, it's on mine, it's page 38, and it's under Department 10, Administrative Services,
Really?
where it says salary and benefits.
Okay, mine says it's 37,
Oh, mine's on,
I think.
Page number on the bottom right.
oh, okay. On the document, it's 38,
Oh, thank you.
on the PDF
Okay, so
document.
now that I'm
Okay,
there.
so now it's on the bottom here. It's
Thank you,
10,
thank
5,
you.
there you go.
Quick question, is deferred compensation, is that a legal term that has legal ramifications, and are we calling this program the correct thing?
Deferred compensation, President Maynard, is a common term of art to deal with
A
exactly.
legal
this
term of art?
Well, it's a common term of art
Okay.
in human resources, as well as the law. Obviously, I believe this is a 457 account.
Is there any possible confusion when we say deferred compensation? Is people thinking pension liabilities? Is there any way that anyone would be able, whether it's a staffer or someone on the outside, that would misconceive what we're talking about here and think that that as an agency, we're developing some big, huge public liability in the future?
You know, I can't speculate as to how certain people might approach this. Deferred compensation is a broad umbrella term. What this is, my understanding, is a 457, which is similar to, you know, a 401K or
Correct.
something like that. Right. It's not a pension plan similar to CalPERS or CalSERS or the county pension plan.
I just want to make sure that we are clarified, putting the right term. And if deferred compensation isn't the term, I'd rather be very specific and call it, you said it's similar to a 401K, but it's not a 401K. I would like to be very specific to what this really is.
So this is, Tarquin, this is pre-taxed, right? This is going to go through payroll as a pre-taxed match, correct?
I would defer to Mr. Mendoza and our
Yes,
accountant
that's
how this is.
Okay, so
how
we had
is
this
set up.
discussion, but I just want to, so it's pre-tax, it's a common, when you work for somebody, it's the 401K matching. So it's for retirement, right? For an IRA or Roth IRA, correct?
But again, let's be careful. Is it an IRA?
Well, no.
So let's not call it that.
Well, it's,
No.
I don't know what account, you need to put it
It is,
into,
yeah.
It's the public, it's the public equivalent of a private 401K.
Well, what's the number? I think,
But it has a number for the IRS, 403B maybe, or some
I
other.
believe it's a 457 account. That's my
457,
understanding.
let's
457.
find out what
Okay.
that is. Let's call it the right thing. Just so I don't want to set up a false expectation for staff or for the community or for anybody. I want people to clearly understand.
But the umbrella term of deferred compensation is correct. Under
Okay.
that umbrella would be a 401K or a profit-sharing plan or a public sector version of it, whatever the IRS numbers are.
Yeah.
Tarquin, I assume you reviewed the letter that was sent from the resident that had concerns that we didn't notice this properly in our agenda?
I did.
And is there any merit to that?
I find no merit to it.
Okay,
What was that?
He found no merit to it.
found no merit.
All right, I'm sorry I interrupted you,
Sure.
Mr. Mendoza.
Be-
Please continue.
Before I bring our accountant Michael Matsumoto up to answer any general questions you have, the next layer to this deferred compensation plan is under policy 2160, which is on page 50, I believe.
Page what?
Page 50.
50? Okay.
Yeah. Under 2168.41 deferred matching programs.
there's our policy.
Carolyn and I added this policy. Tarquin has looked it over, so this is the first reading. We just added this paragraph. And so this is for your consideration and for Tarquin to review before we bring it back for a second reading. But Let me just read it to you. The employer matching program offers full-time employees up to 3% employer match. Newly hired full-time employers are eligible for plan enrollment immediately. Following a successful 90-day probationary period, eligible employees enrolled in the deferred compensation plan will begin receiving up to 3% employer match. The matching portion of the deferred compensation plan has a one-year vesting period. As part of the budget planning process, the board will conduct an annual audit of the plan and maintain the ability to suspend the matching portion of the plan at their discretion. Suspending the match would not interrupt employee participation in the plan. So I think you all understand that? I mean, it's pretty tough.
Somebody can enter the plan immediately upon hiring. They can put their own money into it based on whatever is legally allowed as far as maximum contribution, but we don't start matching until 90 days.
Right.
Okay. And then once we start matching, the amount that we match takes a year for them to be fully vested if they were to leave, et cetera, where they would then own that amount.
Right. And if they left before that year, we would keep our portion. They would be able to use theirs.
Yeah.
Is that based on a yearly basis? So every year there's a new vesting period of
No.
what we elect?
Once they're vested, they're vested.
They're vested, they're vested.
But the board, probably along with their annual budget, would review
It's
how we're
fully
doing.
at the discretion of the board.
Right.
The matching portion of it.
Okay. Yeah, because I was confused where, okay, people are immediate, but then there's the 90-day.
So,
Director
If there-
Searles,
if there's
you
any
work
questions,
on
if not,
contracts
Mike,
a
you
lot.
wanna
What do
come
you feel about the wording in this section?
I'm struggling with the idea of how much of this is handled with this particular aspect. And as Mary Ann wrote, what I do find necessary is that this would go through a personnel committee first, because when you say 3% here, you're not designating that 3% is the max they could contribute, and you're going to match it. So, for example, my company might do a 5% plan, and for the first 3% they match, and the next 2% is on me, but that's not 3% of what I put in. That's 3% of my total salary that could be put in is what they're matching, not 3% of what I put in. They're very different numbers. So this does not say 3% of your salary could be put into the plan and we will match that, which is what I think we're trying to say.
Yeah, that's
I
what we're
believe
trying to
the
say.
limits-
This really should be like a CPA financial services person who creates the appropriate language.
Yeah, I agree with Mary Ann's comments about it just being better fleshed out. I have no objection to it as a policy that we explore it and do it, but the language that's here is not sufficient to explain exactly what's going on. And I definitely don't like the highest policy we have, this handbook, being ambiguous and then saying, well, rely on something else that's somewhere else.
There's a company, a financial services company that's going to administer this, right?
Yes.
So whoever that company is, they should be able to create the appropriate legal language that explains this correctly. What is the company that's going to be doing that?
This language has come from, I guess, reviewing a number of other agencies and coming up with their own, using their, using their language that they have had in the past. So we'll be happy to make any changes, just, but.
Who's the financial services
The
company?
financial services is nationwide, and the process will be that it'll be deducted through ADP. ADP will cut a check to Nationwide on a monthly basis.
President Mayor, if I could just clarify procedure. Mr. Mendoza will be bringing this draft policy back for a first reading at the next hearing.
Okay.
So this is board's consideration of it. We're not taking formal action on it because it will come back for a first reading and introduction at the
But
next
it's the
policy.
first reading of the budget.
First reading of the budget.
But this portion is just a draft reading.
Correct, because this is not, it was not specifically noticed But the budget is noticed clearly, so this is proper for the budget. When we come back to the next meeting, Mr. Mendoza will bring back for first reading the new policy.
I got a question. Mike, how'd you come up with the 10,900?
That is based on 3% of the gross pay for all the full-time employees. My understanding of how this plan was going to work, I believe it was a 457 plan, but I haven't done any investigation as to whether or not it's a 457 plan, which is a deferred compensation plan. It has limits established by IRS rules, and they're similar to other qualified plan contribution limits. It's not 5% or 3% of your pay. I believe everyone can put in more than that. And if they're over 50, they can get catch-up contributions and everything. I don't know what those amounts are, but I assumed, for purposes of the budget, that every full-time employee would start with a donation, with a contribution to deferred comp of their own money of at least 3% of their pay.
The maximum.
And which would require the district to match 3%. If they put in 5%, the district would still only match the 3%. That's the way the plan was described to me, and that's what's in your budget.
But there's a ceiling on each person's salary, a maximum amount that the district is participating with.
3%.
Yes, and that's the 10,900.
There we go, 10,000.
That's if everyone
There's
put
a-
in at least 3%, and
There's-
that meant you had to put in 3% as well.
There's a legal limit that the IRS allows, how much you can put in. I don't remember what it is. It changes every year. And you're right, it's based on age as well. If you're old enough, you can put extra in to catch up. But 3% would be the most that we would ever match. So your estimate, not your estimate, but actually it's should be fairly accurate, that if everybody put at least 3%, and by the way, they'd be crazy not to because we're giving them 3%, but nonetheless, people make their own decisions. If everybody put at least 3%, and that would be the portion that we would match. If everybody put the maximum amount in, whatever it is, 7, 8, 9%, whatever it might be, it doesn't matter, we're only matching 3%.
That's the way I drafted the budget, and that was my understanding, exactly as you just said it.
That number doesn't change,
No.
ever?
It could
Well,
be
no.
less.
It's going to change if.
Every
the-
year it
Every
changes.
year it's going to
That's what I'm
change.
saying.
No, every year it's going to change based on gross pay.
Right.
So I think what,
And age,
what,
and possibly age for the catch-up years.
no. It's only going to be 3% of gross.
3%.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's only going to be 3% of gross. They can put in 20% if it's legal. We're only going to match 3%.
Okay.
And 3% for the next fiscal year is 10,900.
And it could be less.
Could be less
All
because
right.
someone
If
may.
they only put in 1% or 0, then
Or
we don't
0.
match that.
Based on contribution.
But again, back to our policy. It doesn't say that in the policy. It just says 3% employer match.
Right.
So I would tend to agree with Director Searles that it should be more specific, Joe. Even if others don't, I don't know what, I didn't read all the other policies, but to me, it just makes sense. It's 3% of employer gross, right? But
You
again,
should say maximum 3% of employer gross. Is that
Of
what you're-
employer gross, or based on employer gross, 3% of, yeah.
Is that what
It
you understood?
it doesn't say anything about
Director Searles?
It does say up to 3%.
Yeah, it does say.
up to 3% of what, though? Of just their match? And I guess it's only 3% whether, doesn't really, but 3% of what? Doesn't say gross pay, doesn't say net pay, gross pay. So, to me, that needs to be clarified.
All right.
I agree with Director Barkey that you need to consult the right financial company, person, whatever, to phrase this correctly,
Yeah, whatever.
instead of just, hey, I'll try to wordsmith it again. I think you need some help on this one.
Okay, we will bring it back for our first reading.
So Mike, while you're there, so you say this is based on the full-time salaries that we have. can you break down the salaries that are in our budget here in the, whatever, 5010 category from 4006 to 4009? That's page 37 of the budget.
I don't have a copy of the agenda, but there
Okay.
was a salary table.
All right, yeah, so there's a salary table, and those are the full-time salaries, right? Because we
Yes.
separately identify part-time salaries, correct?
Yes, I believe they have an asterisk or somehow designated that they are part-time. And there's one caveat, the district director is a full-time employee, but he is not eligible for the 3%.
You mean our
deferred
general
comment.
manager?
Right.
Your general manager, yes.
All right, so there's another example of something that probably needs to be separated in the policy.
In the policy or in the budget, sir?
Well, if you're drafting a policy, it doesn't say that the general manager is not an employee or eligible for this program, so we would need to make that exception.
And then on this, on your second request,
So, all right, so Mike, I'm gonna do some math. So the 3% that you say is gonna be 10,900, if I take those salaries that are in that area of the budget for 24, 25, it comes out to 363,333. If I take the budget item that's just the salaries, it's 498. I know the general manager is not making 135,000, so our numbers are off somewhere here. It's not matching up.
we will break that down for you because you might be looking at some part-time salaries within there.
So, Joe, I would say then we probably should line item then
Yes.
that, right?
Okay.
So, full-time, whatever number you're using to get the 10.9, so it's very clear that here's the gross, budgeted gross salaries. This is the deferred, budgeted, deferred compensation, and it's 10,009. And you can easily do the math that, that's 3%.
I have a schedule by position showing their gross pay and the 3% calculation.
Do you have
And-
it in as a line item, though, in our budget?
Right. That schedule did not make it into, I don't believe that schedule made it into the budget, but to get to that 10.9, I have that schedule that lists all the full-time employees and has their pay and the 3% calculated. And the general manager had 0 because I was told that position did not get the 3% match.
Okay.
And I did not draft the policy.
Okay, so.
I'm just explaining the way it was
Understood.
explained to
So can we
me.
get that as an,
Oh,
would
yeah,
we-
we can add that to the next agenda, sure. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, we're gonna have a second reading.
yeah, but let's get everything that
Yeah.
we want on.
Right.
Certainly, we want to make it clearer, the policy clearer, and just the extrapolation of the 10.9. So I see the 10.9, but where is that coming from?
We have that, and
All right.
we can break it down for you. Okay, so that was just a portion of the 24,
Right.
25. So if you have any questions, or if you want Mike to walk you through some of the other areas, he's here to assist.
Yeah, this is the time where you get to ask as many questions and refine the document. So next month, we have everything on the table that we can vote up or vote down.
So I understand the process right now. Is this, the public comment still open?
Yeah, we're still in public hearing.
Right.
Okay, because I think then there was deliberation afterward by the
Oh, we've been
directors.
deliberating while we've been talking. It's been very fluid. Okay. If there's anyone from the public who would like to address our budget, aspects of the budget, the deferred retirement plan for our staff? No more, okay, so we don't have any public comments. At this point, is it appropriate for me to close the public hearing?
Yes, you're closing the public comment portion of the public hearing.
Okay, I'm closing the public comment, but we're still in public hearing.
Correct.
Okay. So we didn't take any public testimony. I'm going back to page 33. We've opened the public hearing. We received the final budget presentation from you, our general manager. You have given your full presentation, correct, Joe?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And our consultant, Mike, have you given your full presentation? Yes, you have. There was no public there, so I'm actually closing the public hearing if this page is correct on 4, and then we're going to deliberate. So I'm officially closing the public hearing. Which brings us to deliberation. I will start with you, Director Barkey.
Nothing further to add.
Okay. Director Shade?
I appreciate Director Searles and his insight and advice on changing the verbiage on that. That's something that we do need to do, and to include all the changes that we do for our next one. And that's pretty much it. I want to just stick to the next one and move from there, get all the information that we can. Right now, I don't feel like we have it all.
Okay. Director Searles?
Yeah, I guess I have a kind of looking current and future to understand. I know this Prop 68 has been a circular conversation. And I apologize for missing the last meeting, but I'm trying to put the numbers together here. Am I correct that we used some Prop 68 funding for or we plan to use some of the Prop 68 funding for the resurfacing of the courts?
No, we've already used Prop 68 funding for the surfing of the courts, I believe, in 2018 or 19. I forget what year. But we do not plan on using it for the future.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I would, share just public comment that I'm glad to see we're supplementing the community events part of our budget. I believe that's going up about $5,000 and including pretty much just an undesignated $2,500 additional that we're looking at spending. I honestly would like to see that much more. I think it's frustrating to come to the festivals and see, it's a difficult choice a lot of families are making when it's $20+ a kid for a wristband to play on the bouncers and everything else. We're paying for bands, and I'm gonna be quite honest, the people who can afford to support the bands are not the ones who are paying anything. They're all sitting here on the chairs in the shade, and it's the young families who are, figuring out whether they want to pay $20 a kid to enjoy the bouncers for hours. So I still would like to see more money put into our community events than into some of the other things we're spending money on. I guess, I mean, it's as right time as any, but, I'll say I'm frustrated to see in the warrants for this month was $800 spent advertising that we're spending money on Prop 68. Paying money to buy a sign to say you're spending more money is really irresponsible.
What's Prop 68?
We have signs that say we're going to spend grant money.
Oh.
We paid $800 for signs saying we're spending grant money.
If I may, if you're looking for an answer, that's part of the requirements of the grant.
We haven't actually spent it, so
It's part of the requirements of the grant to post it for the public to know. And we have spent it. We have spent it on the audiovisual in here. We spent it on the parking lot out there 5 or 6 years ago, on the resurfacing of the courts, and we do plan on, in a couple weeks, putting in carpeting here, and yeah, it's a requirement. There's no way around it.
Okay. Well, then we're very delinquent in putting up our signage, or we're not communicating well with the community about what's going on. And I find this just in a general budget conversation about spending money. It's not our money, it's the community's money, and that we, we're more transparent about it.
It's reimbursable by the grant commissioner, director, Sarah.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess that it never comes out of committee how much the money's going in and out and reimbursements. So that's something we can improve as well then. Otherwise, I guess, it's a hard budget for me with the canopy and capital because 2 years ago we had in excess of like $200,000. And last year we're at 24,000. I think that's, to be honest, probably more in line with what we should have. We shouldn't be stockpiling a great deal of money, but the canopy project shouldn't be delayed if we had that much money 2 years ago as to why we didn't get it going. This budget is fine, but it's the time to talk about how you're not spending the money you have, or you have it in reserves and you didn't spend it. So that's really, this is the time for me to say that I'm just tired of waiting on big projects like that when we had the money 2 years ago. And we had the plans 2 years ago. And the grant was available 2 years ago. So it's just, I'm not going to oppose the budget because it's fine, it's balanced, we're covering expenses. I like that the employees are getting a raise again because a couple of years ago that was a fight. It was a fight last year with the inflation. I'm glad we were able to pull our budget together with that. So that's generally my discussion about the budget. So thank you.
Director DeMarco.
Okay, so we're going to add, you're going to come back with a different, an improved policy, okay?
And we'll get consultation.
And some type of addendum or line item?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think this is a very good budget. I think that I'm kind of proud that we put away, what's here in our reserves? $1 million?
1.7?
Yeah. So
Well, Mike will answer you, but I believe it's 1.7.
It was, June 30, 23, it was 1.7 million.
And again, I think we've talked about this in the past. That is a good reserve. It's not great. I think that it could be hit real hard quickly and we would be in trouble. So I conservatively support that we stay at that level or even add to it, but without the fear of having to keep up our infrastructure. That's what it's there for.
Anything else?
No, that's all.
Okay. Well then, Mr. Mendoza, you please bring this back for our second reading next week.
Yeah, thanks for the input.
Did I say next week? I was ahead of my time. Next month. Next month. There. So at this point, we have closed F1. We are done with our public hearing completely. We are going to move to item G1. This is resolution number 24-05-14-01, a resolution of the Board of Directors of Rossmoor Community Service District approving and adopting the annual appropriations limit for fiscal year 2024-2025. Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you, President Maynard, members of the board. We're asking you again tonight to, as in the past, to approve the appropriations limit that has been calculated and reviewed by our accountant. The limit is $2,825,020. As you know, that is our limit for expenditures. And we are well within that, and so we don't see an issue. And we will send this resolution on to the California Department of Finance for filing And we're asking you to approve this resolution this evening.
Okay, so before doing roll call vote on this, is there any questions or anything people would like to discuss?
I call for a vote.
Okay, I'll ask for the roll call then.
Roll call vote on resolution number 2504-1401, a resolution of the Board of Directors of Rossmoor Community Services District approving and adopting the annual appropriations limit for fiscal year 24-25. Director Searles?
Aye.
Director DeMarco?
Aye.
Director Shea?
Aye.
Director Barkey?
Aye.
President Maynard?
Aye. Let it be known, 5-0. Okay, now we're going to G2, fee waiver request, Meet Your Candidate Night Town Hall, presented by the Rossmoor Homeowners Association. Jody, now's your time. But before you talk, I'm going to hand it to Mr. Mendoza, but you're here now, so.
Just request that you waive the fees for the event that's proposed for September 26th.
Mr. Mendoza?
Yes. As she has pointed out, the RHA, Rossmoor Homeowners Association, will be conducting, or has requested to conduct the Meet Your Candidates Night on September 26th. They have requested a fee waiver and is asking the board to consider waiving this fee. They would be responsible for audiovisual technicians that we use to run the show here and to make it open to the public audio-wise and visual-wise. However, the facility rental fee is broken down. It's $685. 300 for 5 hours, 100 for an attendant, processing fee of $20, $15 projection fee, screen fee, and a $250 deposit. They're stating this is a worthwhile opportunity for residents and surrounding communities to meet candidates and potential representatives. The in-person event, candidates from Congress, Senate, Assembly, Los Alamitos Unified School District, and the RCSD board would be invited to participate. There'd be a Q&A period, and under policy number 6021 and 6015 outline guidelines, fees, and charges for nonprofit use of facilities, and so therefore we're bringing this to you for your consideration and for you to make a determination on whether you want to waive the fees or not. In the past, the RHA did run a town hall meeting, candidates night, a couple years ago. They did pay all the fees, and a month later, I believe in October or something, they came to the board and asked for a fee waiver for the auditorium, and that was granted on a 3-2 vote from the board. And at that time, if I recall, you asked our council what their thought was, and I believe it's still the same. That it might be a conflict of interest. You have to consider all those items. Do you have anything to add, Thornton, or not? Okay. So with that, I leave it up to the board to discuss and make a determination.
Okay, we'll start with you, Director Searles.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say I'm greatly in support of it. I think this facility is the best facility in Rossmoor. We spend a lot of money as a board, and as I said earlier, the community's money to make it available, and so to have it available for the public to meet the candidates who are all invited. It's a very nonpartisan invitation, as I understand it, which also means that whoever is the representative who is subsequently elected will have had a chance to meet their constituents. We don't have a great opportunity with, necessarily meeting our future congressperson unless they're asked to attend something like this. Our county supervisor is up for election this year. As someone directly who is going to be, a conduit to a lot of things we want to work with. Last month you talked about the zip code situation in our, county supervisors. Tangible, relationships can be made with, our residents and meeting the candidate before and after. I think in some ways not allowing it or charging a fee makes it makes the democracy less accessible rather than worrying about us tipping our fingers on the scale and having some judgment involved. I think our making the facility available and free and, you know, letting it go forward is a more democratic way of going about it. And, you know, for the fees and what we're waiving, I think it's a great opportunity. And it's outside of our jurisdiction, which helps us to have another organization facilitating it so that we're not seen as being involved as well. So I'm in great support of this.
Okay, we're going to jump to this side, just to mix things up. Director Barker?
What Nathan said.
Okay.
I agree. I think we should approve it. I think it's a no-brainer. We've done it before. Let's do it again.
Okay. Now we go there. Director DeMarco?
My only concern, so, and Joe, I'm glad you brought this, you gave this to us. So I had a concern last time because I was at it at the candidates night and in the audience, and I thought it was a bit biased. So, and it was really biased towards incumbents on this board. It wasn't biased for Congress or whatever. It wasn't biased for the incumbents on the board. So, and it was just the questioning, and it was the questioning to at the time, the incumbent Michael Maynard. So, I don't know. What is your budget at RHA? I mean, we're talking like we're going to waive, you know, $4,000 to rent this place. I mean, it's $400. So I'm just curious that, and if I oppose it, it's like I'm against the association that I'm a member of, the RHA, but it's when, you know, the process is not that transparent in that the questions that are going to be asked of the RCSD, and that's another little side thing too, is our acronym is not even used that way by the RHA anymore. Don't understand why that's happening. It's like the RHA wants to rebrand the RCSD by calling them the CSD. So, I don't know. I don't know what sure, let's have a candidates night, and if you're a candidate, you can come here, but for us, and, you know, this is open to anybody to rent. And if you're a nonprofit, and it's $400 and some odd dollars, but I don't know, I think it's more that I'm not happy with the last, certainly, maybe 10 years ago it was done differently, but recently it's been biased. And if this board shouldn't be involved with biased, and certainly you talk about democracy, there shouldn't be a biased pathway for this board to, hey, show favoritism to one association or another. Now, are we opening it up for anybody who wants to have a candidates night in here, or anybody who wants to have something like that in Rush Auditorium, that we're going to waive it? As long as it's this, then we should have like a policy for that.
You make a good point, actually, Tony, hearing you. Another option is we waive the fees, but we ask to be involved. Either have our general manager as part of the process to be sure that it's a fair and unbiased system of a forum. But you do make a good point.
I think that I don't see, well, I think it's going to be difficult to not make it biased if RCSD is involved with any of the process. Not that I'm saying Joe Mendoza can't be unbiased, but we're just in a time right now where there's, you know, friction, okay? We all know it, but we don't talk about it, but there's like friction with RHA and certain members of RCSD and our general manager. And again, Jody, you and I can talk about it, but for some reason, leadership at RHA is not, you know, I don't know when's the last time leadership came to our board meeting. You know, why isn't the president of RHA here asking for this? I don't know, it just rubs me the wrong way. I mean, to waive a $400 bill is, I don't, and yes, we've done it in the past. I hear you, we've done it in the past, we did it last time. But I wasn't, and I said it last time. I'm quoted here, it's like it was biased towards certain candidates that are running for RCSD and certain candidates that are on the board. So
Do you have a response to Tony's
I
concerns?
do. I've got a whole list of things that he came up with. I think it is definitely a community service, but the bias part is very sincerely, we were very cognizant about, and I was part of that group of developing those questions, and I know what it's like to be a candidate running for something. I will say, though, that incumbents, somebody who's an incumbent understands the job better. And often when there's specifics about financials, details of history, that the new candidate who hasn't been in that role before doesn't have that history. It's a lot different sitting out here than it is behind the seats you're in. We haven't developed that committee yet, the committee members. In fact, we haven't even determined the leadership for the RHA for the next year. That will be happening in the next 2 months. But I'm assuming that probably for the town hall candidate forum, it'll be similar. And we were very intentional of having political party representation that was different, areas of interest that were different. And I'm just sorry to hear that if you thought that they were biased. I think that...
Were you part of the RHA Candidates Forum last cycle?
Yes. Yes, and I was part of the group.
Questioning, and I was part of everything. In fact, I did a lot of the questioning, and those questions came from the public, from our residents.
But now I'm confused, you were a candidate, so you were also...
I mean, I've been on both sides of the fence.
Okay, because it made it sound like you were a candidate who
Yeah,
got to pick the questions.
I've been on both sides of the fence, and I was actually part of the committee that put a lot of those questions. Actually, we just chose from a pool. It's just people are able to send in their questions every time we have one of these things, and it's just like, it's just a pool, and they're literally very specifically pulled, like, to not be biased.
You mean you handpicked the questions and are
Yeah,
careful of
there's,
those questions?
exactly.
So
They're super careful not to be biased. in
I
any way.
remember, I can't remember how long ago I first ran. It seems like forever. But I remember I was part of the original candidates forum, and there was a question that purposely was not asked to me appropriately, that was very derogatory and biased, and I can't remember who was running it, but they came up to me afterwards and said, hey, I just want to let you know I didn't ask this question because I thought it was inappropriate.
It
That was
might
me.
have been.
That would, just so you know.
Jody, sorry, one of the questions that was asked was about the budget.
No, you're out of line right now. We're still deliberating, we're still having a thing, and you just interrupted them.
Maybe, I don't remember, but maybe it was you. I don't recall.
Well, it was. So first I want to recognize, I think it's impossible not to be biased.
No matter how you.
And
put it
even
up.
you try real hard, can you guarantee the lack of appearance of a bias? And I think it's impossible. And where you're going is, I was actually part of the committee when the RCSD and RHA worked together. I was asked to be the moderator for the school district since I wasn't on the school district. And I actually, not intentionally, I showed a bias. And here was my bias. I believe there's a thing called boundaries. I believe there's a thing called crossing a line. And there were questions, and I saw one specific to you about family stuff, and I chose not to ask it. That in itself is a bias, because I thought it was over the line. I've been very public that you don't go after any of our board's family. There are certain boundaries in life, and that is one of my biases, and I felt it was a very mean-spirited question, so I didn't ask it. 2 years later, you're now actually running for RCSD. So are you, and so am I, and so's Director Searles. And the opening question, we all got to do our statement, and I was the only one who was asked a particular question. And it wasn't a big deal of a question, but that in itself showed a bias of some person in the RHA who really wanted to know where I went to school. They didn't ask anybody else, educational background, but for some reason they chose to ask me.
Where'd you go to school, by the way?
I went to Cal Poly. Loved it. I'm a Bronco, okay? And then I did graduate school at Fullerton. But regardless of that, I felt that was weird. And then frankly, I thought some of the questions last year were weird. And where Tony's coming from, I think it had to do with latent powers, and then these latent power questions were asked of our congressperson, and how would you pursue a community that wants latent power? It was just a weird question that came up, which again, some kind of appearance, I'm not saying it was biased, but at least it appeared to be biased. So as we talk and deliberate over this, my thought is I think these events need to happen here. I think that the Women's League of Voters should have an event here. I believe the Green Party, if they wanted an event here, I think candidate nights belong here. But where I struggle with is, should this be taxpayer money? Especially giving 3 experiences that I've observed. And one I actually, like I said, I showed a bias and didn't ask a question on a card. Now granted, I didn't have to admit that. You have all these cards, you have a short period of time, but when I saw that, I went, wow, that's mean-spirited. And I didn't even know you at the time. So it wasn't like, hey, you're biased towards a friend. No, it was such a coarse remark about family and decisions on family that I went, that does not belong in Rossmoor.
You know what? Now,
that was my bias.
Now I remember it, and the question had to do with why did my wife and I send my daughter to a private school when I was
Right.
running for a public school board position?
And that's a family choice.
Right.
And that does not take away, but to me, that was just mean-spirited. So again, I've always had civility in mind. So where my head is right now is, I think the event should happen. I just don't think it should be funded with public taxpayer money out of the Rossmoor budget.
Okay, so since I haven't had my 2 cents on this, I'd like to just ask Joe, what other events have we had here that we've had candidates here that are in office that we've had pay?
You mean like candidate forums?
Anything?
I didn't understand your question, I don't think.
What do we have them pay?
Have there been any candidate
Yeah,
events
like,
here?
not
Oh, for
necessarily,
instance.
but just, yeah,
For instance, our assembly or supervisor,
Yeah,
somebody
right.
comes out and did
Right.
what do you call it, Narcan?
yeah.
Fentanyl thing?
Fentanyl.
Right.
We just do a joint venture with them, yeah.
Okay, so all of our, anybody that comes in here that wants to do a
Not anybody, no.
event like that, is that
If
complimentary
they're, I use my
in
judgment.
office?
If they're a political office and it's to benefit the community and it's information to get out and, the public office is giving information about what's going on in the district and what's going on in the surrounding areas, yes, I welcome
So-
them.
What are examples
Can
of
I
that?
just
Sometimes I recruit
finish?
them to do that.
Can I
yes.
just finish? So we're allowing other folks to come in and with no charge, use our facilities and, put on whatever. I was here for the fentanyl thing and, we had, whatever guests that we had here speaking very, very biased. I was here for that.
What do you mean very biased? I
His
wasn't here.
speak,
What guests?
I believe it was the district attorney.
Yes.
And it was literally like a rally in here. And I asked
Todd
Joe
Spitzer?
that night, yeah. And he was like, and it was all about, 90% of the time he was up here speaking, and there was like 5% of the time that the candidate was actually speaking.
The candidate?
Well, there was no candidate.
It was not candidate, it was Trita.
No, but they're elected officials.
But-
It
Right,
wasn't a
elected
candidate.
officials, right, but he was up
This was the
literally,
fentanyl meeting?
right, right,
I'm so confused.
right. I was here.
No,
Well,
I was
So
at that meeting.
If
my
I
only
may.
issue, my only issue and point is that we allowed him to come in, we allowed them to come in, and it was a great event. I was here, I enjoyed it, but it was a very biased. So I feel like that's when I questioned, a lot of things that he was pointing out were,
Define what you mean by bias.
If I may, what I heard, and, there might have been, I don't know the
I mean, he
political end of it,
literally,
but
like, was
we were talking
speaking.
about fentanyl, they were talking about Narcan, they were talking about prevention, and they were talking about law enforcement. And it all relates.
About what?
Law
Law
enforcement.
enforcement.
Okay.
And how strict Orange County is versus LA County. And, yeah,
Right, and
he was pumping his chest a little,
Right,
but
he was, and he
he was saying how strict they are in their enforcement.
I don't know.
But this wasn't an election
No, it
event,
was
was it
not.
a rally?
No,
He
but
had
he
already
was
been
definitely
elected.
touting, his side. So I just felt like it was a very, like, there were things that were said during that, like, it was like, I appreciated him being here and everything that they did and everything that they handed out without question, but I was, in my mind, I was thinking, like, wow, that, he was kind of
Chest thumping.
a little bit, yeah, and that there was, that was definitely going on without question. So and that night when I left, I asked Joe, like, literally, do we charge for this? Because I was thinking in my head, I mean, he's up there like, wow. And he said, no, we allow them to come in here, we don't charge them, we never charge them. So in that respect, here we are telling our own RHA that we cannot have them.
We're not
Or
saying
not,
that.
we're not saying that we cannot have them, but we're saying we should probably charge them. But we're allowing everybody else to come in here and have theirs when we're not charging them.
It's not a candidates forum
No,
that
we're
everybody
not.
else is having. It's a
No, it's not,
public
but this
service
is a
event.
public service for our own neighborhood, our own community.
But what I'm saying is also, at least where I'm at, is we shouldn't fund things that are political voting biases. So again, if the Women's League of Voter just came up here and said the same thing, I'd say, great, let's have the
I'm
event.
saying without question, we need
But-
to, we need to let this, it's a community event. It's a service to our community. It's a lot of work, and I think this is an opportunity to allow our local residents to come in somewhere super close and be a part of it and see for themselves and be able to introduce themselves to the candidate and get to know them and be here for all the questioning and see it front and center. Again, those questions are pulled from questions that are fielded from our community.
I
they're
understand,
literally-
Director Shade, and you get 100 of them, but someone picks 6 of them. So it's certainly you
Well,
get,
I mean, we could be a part of that process if that is something.
No.
I think that's sticky.
no,
Jody,
no.
will
That's
our-
actually
And-
going against
And Director
everything.
Shade, I'm not saying not to have candidates night. So
Yeah.
the question
Yes,
is,
I understand
if
that.
we
Charge-
don't,
Right.
if we don't forgive $420, the RHA are not going to put on the candidates night?
I can't answer that, but I will say that we're not a Women's League of Voters. The RHA has not identified best candidates, that we are really, our goal is to present all the candidates, trying as hard as we can to be unbiased. And please know that it was a committee that those questions went through. When I was there were 2 moderators. I didn't have the choice of what candidates were asked, that it was approved ahead of time by a group of us. And to answer Director Searle's question, I think you were going to say something about the budget. Of course, we have money in the budget to pay for something like that. And I see that as the RHA, it's a good thing because it's for the community, making the community a better place. It goes along with our bylaws, but it would be nice to have that $400 waived.
I just
When
think having,
I apologize, but, I mean, I know you say you have it in the budget, but you don't have, like, you're not flush with cash. Because I attended one of your meetings recently, and it was expressed about how tight everything was, how much effort goes into your sponsorships and fundraising, things of that nature. Is that not correct? There's no excess money.
Oh, there's excess money, especially for our tax status, that we have the fiduciary responsibility to pay back to people who paid into us. And we're looking at investing in, it was talked about treasury bills or CDs. So, I mean, we certainly have the money that we could be coming up. But within the next 6 months. I think that some of that money got tied up.
Okay.
I just think it's, if we're gonna allow other political people to come in here and use these facilities for free and not allow our RHA, that is an issue.
Well, that,
I-
I'm
I
I
just-
understand what you're saying, meaning I think we should have these events. Someone has a fentanyl anti-drug campaign and a politician thumps his chest and does a couple rallying fight. I don't think that was.
I wouldn't articulate it that way.
Okay, I wasn't there, I'm just.
Yeah, I
taking
was
what you
there.
said.
You're talking
I
about
was too.
our
Okay.
elected assembly member was here talking about law enforcement and the horrible drug of fentanyl, okay? He was not pumping his chest. You had our district attorney Spitzer here, who's elected, okay? And again, telling our packed audience what he's doing to combat fentanyl. And again, to me, that has nothing to do with RCSD for giving $420 to the RHA having a candidates night. So
I strongly disagree.
wholeheartedly think you guys can
I
have a
was here.
candidates night.
Yeah, I
I
want you
just
to.
don't think that it should be forgiven by RCSD. That's all. That's my, and again, I say that because me, personally, feel that some of the questions that are chosen for some of the candidates are biased. That's all. So I'm not, listen, we can have 100 candidate nights here. That'd be fantastic. I love when our residents are here communicating. I'm not going to vote for forgiving the $420 this year. That's so. I'm just telling you guys. I'm all for them having a candidates night. Joe, what does it cost us? Okay, how many staff members are you going to have here that night? Let's just say we got 150 people here. What's it going to cost the RCSD? You're going to be here.
$685.
$685
But they get $250 reimbursed in the deposit.
in the deposit.
And they would need
So-
to pay for the.
No, I think Tony means.
No.
what does
I'm
it
saying,
cost
what do you think it's going to cost us?
The personnel that are here.
Personnel,
that's setting
forget
up-
about what we charge, okay? What do you think it's going to cost us?
Anywhere from $80 to $150, depending on how many, yeah.
In terms of time, staff time?
Right. Clean up, yeah, that kind of stuff.
I'd just like to add that one of the reasons I support waiving the fee, and it connects to pretty much this entire board's discussion recently, is by allowing this to go forward, we are avoiding incumbency bias. If we say we want to charge somebody else to do this, we're saying as a board, we're doing more to protect our seats by making it a more difficult barrier to have a public discussion about the seats we're running for. While every month we get to be up here and do what we want to do and spread our name as what we do, the same can be said for our assembly person. The same can be said for our state senator who is running for office. Anyone who is in office gets free, name distribution. This allows anyone who's not sitting in those positions to have the access for one night only, a very limited amount of access compared to what the incumbents have, to get out a little bit of who they are, and that's why I support it. The vote can be taken, and I'm not going to disagree with anyone as to their personal opinions. That's just where I feel that it matters just a little bit more than we say the money matters.
I don't consider myself being on this board political at all. I'm giving back to my community. And if a candidate, okay, just like I did when I started, if a candidate wants to get involved, we have committee meetings all the time. We have board meetings where you can come and discuss. You can talk this man's ear off. He'll listen to you, and he'll talk and debate you and talk about the good and bad of our community, okay? I believe all of us are here for our community. And to say, I have a compromise, Joe, $150 is what it costs, that's what we should be charging our RHA. Whatever it costs us, that's what we should charge then. Okay, if you're telling me that we're going to make money, okay, now again, this is our facility, but it's a community facility. RHA is our community nonprofit, okay? It should be actual costs then. That's my compromise, and I'll vote for it. But again, this waiving, just coming in and waiving everything when RHA wants to do something, okay, Nothing against you, Jody, okay? And again, I'm a member of RHA, but to me, it sets a bad precedent, and I can't imagine, can't RHA just get a sponsor for the 150 or 200 if we choose to do it that way? I just,
You're
and
super
this,
passionate, Michael.
this
just feel like we
comparing
all
to
are.
elected officials coming in on a meeting on fentanyl, I think we're reaching and going on a different path. We're just talking about candidates night here, which I'm not opposed to.
I just want to say that night when we were talking about the fentanyl thing, the whole event was a fentanyl thing, and there was very little discussion about the fentanyl because the majority of the time we
Director
spoke.
Shade, that's false.
I was
here.
here.
I was here.
It was
It was
15.
right
It was
next
all
to
about
Jeff.
fentanyl.
Well,
Okay,
Forget-
I mean, you're trying to make it about the fentanyl, and it wasn't.
I'm not even bringing
it
up
sounded like you were
fentanyl.
making it about
I'm
the
not.
fentanyl
I
to
didn't
me.
even bring
I'm
that
so
up.
confused.
I
I'm
didn't even
confused
bring it
about
up.
fentanyl.
I seriously
Yeah.
didn't even bring that up. I just want to make sure that we're being fair when we're offering
don't
it
know.
to
I'd have
other
to calculate.
people and to
But-
the RHA.
It's ability to pay too. I mean, I think our speaker mentioned that they have the ability to pay. So, yeah, if you want to charge them direct fees.
Then we
that's
need to
fine with
charge
me.
everybody, to be fair.
Okay, then, okay, so whatever we charge everybody, RHA is going to get charged. Okay.
I'm just saying, if, to be
So when
fair,
we
we want to
partner,
charge.
when we don't partner too much anymore, why? So when we partner on things, they got to pay their, so you're going down, you're making this larger, Director Shade, than it has to be. We're talking about $420, okay? So actual cost, Joe,
I'll have to break it down.
okay.
And
Can I say that the actual costs are going to be 200 or less?
Yes, but let me give you an asterisk to that. It's about almost $1,000 to pay for the audiovisual portion. There's a separate charge for the audiovisual.
Who's paying for that?
They are, the RHA.
Good.
All right, okay. So that's their contract,
Right.
right?
To run,
They're
to run
not
it on
paying-
YouTube.
Wait, they're not contracting with RCSD to
No.
pay them.
No.
Okay, they're handling
Right.
that. Ours is just a fee to rent the hall,
Right.
okay? And staffing, okay? The hall, okay, yeah, there's expenses in maintaining this hall, okay, but it's only a few hours that night, so.
There's setup and tear down. I'll break it down.
Okay, so let's cut to the chase. So I move that we charge RHA, if they choose, to do a candidates forum, $200.
Or just make it actual costs.
Okay, actual cost.
To be
You're
determined.
going to have employees here,
To set up,
okay?
monitor, and tear down.
Okay, so whatever the actual costs will be, if RHA has a candidates night, okay, that's what we charge them. That's my motion.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
There's a second for that?
Yep,
Okay.
second.
I'm just going to put out my thing again. I don't like when politics get involved, so I understand your uncomfort zone on that particular night, even though his point was different. You both had your own experience. No, I get this.
everything you said
Oh, okay.
that night.
Well, no, but still, I
yeah.
myself love these events. I want more of these events. I just don't think they should be funded by taxpayers. So that's where I'm coming from. Because it's impossible not to show bias. Because if you're not showing bias, there's still going to be an appearance. I literally was, when I knew this was on the agenda, I literally was going, how can this not be, okay, well, if you do that, if you bring Rossmoor involved, and we're involved, RCSD, well, that's going to show a bias. So no matter what, there is no bias, or the anti-bias debate. I've never seen it on TV. I've never seen it here. I've been involved. I told you it came clean. I showed my bias when I was a moderator, so that's where this vote, that was second, and this isn't a roll call, but there was a second, there was a vote. I'm just going to put it out right now. Okay, all in favor?
Well, hang on, we're
Go
still
ahead.
discussing.
All right.
The concept of charging actual costs. You're okay with that?
Yeah, because let's talk it through. I don't think taxpayer money should fund this.
I agree with you.
That's where I'm at.
And we don't necessarily need to make money on it.
No, we don't. So I guess your motion, Tony,
It's not to make money on it.
we're not gonna make money on it? The community still gets their service, and taxpayer dollars weren't used. I'm good. I'm good with, I'm sorry, I've already let out how I'm gonna vote, sorry. So anyhow, all in favor with the motion of Director DeMarco, say aye.
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 All those
Aye.
opposed? No opposed, okay.
Thank you, Jody,
Thank you, Jody.
for coming.
She even stayed long for this one.
She held out.
But we're going to talk about LAFCO, and he did not stay. I'm just saying. Okay, regular item G4, ballot and declaration of qualifications to vote regarding the Orange County LAFCO Special District representation or representative. As you heard, he is running with someone on the ballot who doesn't want the office.
What about Ray IT?
We're going to G3, President Mayor.
Oh, I'm ahead of my time. I apologize. Let's go to G3, Mr. Mendoza.
Okay. Thank you. President Mayor and members of the board, this is a redo of the Brea IT Solutions for continuation of the Internet Technology Services. Last month, you approved a 3-year plan, and when we went to sit down with Brea, we were under the impression that it was a 3-year plan because that's what it was in the past. They asked us to reconsider and to make it a 1-year plan, and they attached a letter on page 66 outlining their concerns. They are unsure on what their future costs are for cybersecurity and insurance rates, and they had asked us to please consider the same terms, a 5% increase, and it's broken down on the second paragraph, and it basically comes at $24,603 annually, and they're asking for a 1-year term. So I'd ask the board to please consider that, and if you approve it, we'll make sure the contract is signed and documents are taken care of. Is there any questions?
I have one. How, as a general manager, do you feel with a 1-year contract and the possibility it's going to go up 5% every year upon year?
I would, based on the survey that I did of surrounding agencies, it was, I'm sorry, I should have been in here, it was in the last board packet. I believe we are well within our range of fees. I believe that they're giving us a good service for what we're getting, and I think that if within this year, if we want to go out to bid and look at other services, we can, just to be prepared. But I don't think they have any other intention other than just covering some of their increases.
I'll open it up this side. Director Markey. Nothing. Director Shea? Director DeMarco?
You know, Bray IT's been here longer than me, so I remember prior to the pandemic how I kind of questioned these fees, but after 2020, I think they do on-site, they come out
Yes.
once a month, Carolyn, what?
As needed.
As needed, and it's needed
Yeah, once in a
often,
while.
right? So they take care of all of our hard drive, or all of our hardware, and then they fix things remotely as well, update all the computers. Just based on what that costs these days, I think this is a pretty good deal. And again, if they continue to go up, they're going to rise to where it's going to be competitive, I think. I think, although we don't like these increases every year, I just think it's just par for the course. And I just think we need to have it. I know I've talked to them many times. Staff likes Bray IT, their hands-on availability, and the relationship that we've had with them because we've been with them for so long. So,
Director Schultz?
Yeah, I would echo the same comments that I hear the same feedback from staff. I guess, just for clarification, it doesn't appear that this increase was in the budget. Under professional services, it doesn't show the change from 20 to 24,000.
I would have to check that. I'm not familiar with it.
I don't see it as a barrier to either the budget or doing
Well, I
this.
think
but
we're waiting for this approval, then it'll be, you'll see it in the.
I guess, though, I would probably ask that it be in a comment
right.
during the budget portion.
Okay.
But nonetheless, as I said, I don't believe it's going to present an issue for either. So I'm fine with it. Thank you.
Well, I could just tell you, we don't have any IT people on staff. We have smart people who know how to use computers like we do, and I can't imagine an office and everything they're doing. And if something happened, that we don't have an IT person, guys. So there is a reason for this. So is there a motion to accept this
Motion.
contract? I heard a motion
Oh,
from Director Shades. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 5-0.
Extremely, very competitive rate that they're doing there. It's hard to beat.
Now we get to talk about LAFCO's special district representation. If you recall, there's 2 people on the ballot, but 1 person already dropped out, so we know 1 person's heart's not in it. Plus you have the incumbent. Mr. Mendoza.
President, Mayor, members of the board, as you heard from James Fizzler this evening, he is the only remaining, nominee on the ballot. The ballot is due on Monday, April 15th, and our designated representative.
Did you say April?
Yeah, I did, so it should be May, I'm sorry.
Okay.
May 15th, and our designated
That's Monday.
Board of Representatives is Michael Maynard, our president. So what we're asking you to do, I know, so what we're asking you to do is make a determination on who you're going to vote for, and I believe that's pretty easy to do. And we will make sure that Mr. Maynard signs our ballot, it's attached, and that we fax it in tomorrow.
Okay.
Fax or
I
scan.
want to thank you for asking them those questions and just, again, talking about what he represents,
You're right.
you know,
I-
LAFCO,
Yeah.
which is.
I apologize.
But-
Karen
Sorry.
pointed out to me, I read the last paragraph. It's due June
Oh.
10th.
I'll still sign it tonight. I'll
We're
vote
fine.
for it.
But I'm so glad you brought that up,
Okay. you're welcome.
because it's, it's even a little fuzzy with me as to what this
MSR.
MSR, okay?
Municipal Service Review.
Okay, so they're gonna review, and that we can review,
I want to work with them.
yeah. So again, not dictate, but at least review, because remember, you brought up trash. They separated the trash contract by islands, so we know what the contract is. We know what the county pays.
I guess who's the biggest island?
Well, we're one of them, we're one of the biggest. I don't think we're the largest.
Residential, we are.
Okay, but why can't we manage that? Why can't we manage the contract? We're not asking for money, we're just asking for management. Why can't we
Well,
manage it?
no, we
We
need,
manage it already a little bit because they come and complain to Joe, and Joe has to go.
we need the transfer of funds, so there is coordination.
No,
There is
no,
a
I
path with LAFCO.
absolutely
Yeah.
agree, but again, it's,
Okay, we're here talking whether we should vote for Jim.
Yes.
I understand.
Okay.
First I'm thanking President Maynard for asking the question. Okay, now we can talk about it.
I've known Jim for many years.
Thank you.
We don't have an option, because he's the only guy running. But he's
We could
the-
be mean-spirited.
We'll write in the
Can
name.
we write in Michael Maynard?
No.
He's the right guy to vote for, and I agree. Excellent questions. You almost got a glimpse of a path forward.
Almost, okay. So is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, I will sign that tonight.
May 15th.
What?
We're
Well,
going to have it done by May 15th. Way to go, a month early.
yeah. Why not do it now? I'll do it tonight, if you have it. Okay, let's go to our general manager items, section H on the agenda.
I'll be real brief. I want to really give a shout out to our staff and the lead special events. and the Incredible Hulk, or Jamie Hulk, for putting on that health and wellness fair we just conducted Saturday. I thought it was a step up from the year before, and there was a good crowd that showed up throughout the day, and the vendors were very happy with the people that showed up there to hear what they have to offer and to ask the questions, and I think they made some great relations. As Omero pointed out, Tree USA signs have been posted. Our butterfly garden out here, if you walk out on your way out, we had some artwork done, and it displays what the butterfly garden is all about. It's pretty festive. We're looking into maybe buying some real inexpensive fencing to guard it. We've noticed that some of the kids are not being kind to the caterpillars.
What?
So anyway, so we need to protect it a little more. That didn't happen last year, but might be some of our older teams. Mark your calendar for this weekend from 10 to 11:30. We're partnered with Darren and Lindsay Ludwig regarding pool safety and awareness. We have a number of vendors coming out, and there will be a lot of information provided by paramedics, by pool safety personnel, and by fire, and we look forward to that
Sounds a
event.
great event.
It's going to be big. We're getting some kids out and some parents. Rush Park Auditorium Flooring Project starts May 20th. We anticipate 10 days, and we have to hit that 10 days. We have a big wedding in here right after that. So, I
Can
mean,
dance the night away.
yep. Pickleball court conversion starts the week of May 27th, and that'll include the basketball the week after. Parks and Facilities Committee will be meeting on May 29th to go over policies and to go over some of the other issues that we want to bring to them, and fees and charges. Okay. Rossmoor Neighborhood Cleanup and Compost event will be on June 29th in the Rush parking lot from 9 to 12. And I won't be redundant here, but here's all the events we're going to have from June, July, and August, and September regarding family festivals, movie nights, Shakespeare in the Park. And one of the movie nights, we're moving over to Rossmoor Park on August 16th, so we'll make sure that the area around there is aware that there will be a movie night that night. We have added some new art classes, dance classes. Pickleball lessons are in progress, and we're looking at senior educational events to begin the first and third Thursday of the month from 9 to 10:30 here. We have a series of speakers coming in, and we're going to play some games, and we'll have some refreshments that we're working with local vendors to provide. The big item, and that we will be bringing to you next month with the assistance of our county council, is we're working with the North Orange County Continuing Education, NOCE, to provide a series of free classes to enrich lives through education and active adult, for older active adults in Rossmoor and surrounding communities. Basically, NOCE trains, they have moderators that come out, and they're gifted in certain areas. They've been vetted, they've been fingerprinted, they've been trained, and they will be coming out with a series of classes.
What
Free
kind of classes?
free to the community. It could be an art class, it could be a fall prevention class, it could be different variety of things. And I believe we had
There's actually a survey in the works.
yeah, and I will send you all a pamphlet that they provide to, I believe Brea's involved there, Yorba Linda, other cities are taking advantage of this. So we found them through just a friend of mine that works for them and told us about it. And so it's a win-win. And again, still we open our facilities free, it's free to our community, and they provide the service. And we will make sure it's publicized. We're working on an agreement with our council to bring to you in June, and then you'll have a speaker from NOCE to outline the program. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions, but that rounds out the evening.
I have a question on the pickleball. We're bringing in a private lesson person. This is the first I've heard of that. I mean, I saw it advertised online, which is nice, on social media, but did that become part of a board question? Was that brought to the board at all?
Not yet. I did bring it to the board. I did let the board know we were doing it in public hearing. We're doing it on a trial basis, and we're seeing how this vendor works out, then we will be bringing a long-term contract.
Did we review a contract on that, or get a contract on
No,
that?
as I mentioned, we're doing this on a trial basis to see how she works out, see how the public likes it, and then after, I think I set a July 1st date, we'll be working with Tarkman to do a formal agreement if everything.
I think this was last meeting.
Yeah, it was last
So
meeting.
I did miss that. I wasn't sure, did anybody see, no, so we don't have a contract yet?
No,
No, it's a trial
Okay,
program.
trial basis. So do we know anything about like insurance liability?
they have, they've given us all that, and they're renting the courts at a, up at a different fee, and it's the same as the tennis agreement, other than we don't have a formal agreement yet, because we do not know if we want to enter into a long-term agreement with them.
All right, so this is an outside vendor coming in? Outside vendor coming in?
What do you mean by outside?
Like it's not a local resident?
No,
or-
no.
If I may, Director Shea, if I could clarify Mr. Mendoza's comments, we do have an agreement. It's just a temporary agreement.
Yeah.
So it is a formal agreement with them,
Okay.
with defense and indemnity and insurance and so
And
forth.
that'll be
It's just temporary.
formalized? Will we be able to view the contract?
Well, our policy is that our general manager cannot enter a long-term contract of any sorts without board approval. So the next step is for him, as
That's
he's
what I'm saying.
determined,
I'm
he's going
asking
to bring,
that. Yeah.
he will bring it.
July, was that July you mentioned?
I said,
Yeah.
I believe July.
July
yeah.
1st?
I can tell you I went to the health event this weekend. She was actually there and participated and engaged the community. Had a
Very
little, her own little pickleball net in front. She
Very
was very
Okay.
professional.
Cool deal.
Came off really good,
Very good.
I think. I'm hoping it works out because she presented herself really well, so. And
Very
she cared enough to come to the
Yeah.
community event, so.
Okay. That was my only question.
Anybody else, questions of our general manager? Okay, we'll move to board member items. We'll start with you, Director Barkey.
Hi, Jody, thanks for coming. And thank you all. I think it was a really robust, polite, respectful discussion, and a really nice compromise that Tony came up with. So thank you all for your participation and agreement. I think it was a real nice solution. That's it. We'll see you next month.
Director Shade.
I agree. Well said, Dr. Buckley. I appreciate that. Yeah, Jody, thank you for coming. You know, I always like seeing you. Don't get to see you that often, so, yeah, right. Thank you to all of our guests that were here tonight, even though they're not here, including our little daisies, who are so cute. And yes, it was a really great discussion. I appreciate everything that was said, and I agree. So it was all good.
Director Searles.
Yeah, it was a good meeting. Thank you, Jody. Really appreciate it. Thank you to the staff. Congratulations to Omero, 25 years. That's awesome. And congratulations, more of a thank you than congratulations. We really appreciate it. Reminder, there's a blood drive tomorrow. If there's any spots open, you might want to get in there. I'm going to try time permitting. And importantly, tomorrow is Peace Officers Memorial Day. And so remembering those who've served us, and thankful always for what they do. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Director DeMarco.
Thank you. I'll start off. Yes, thought this was a great debate, and Director Shade, I thank you for debating me on the issue, and I'm glad we got to a agreement where it's 5-0, like I like to see. Certainly, like I said, I'll reiterate, Jody, let's have candidates night, but you understand where I'm coming from, where let's just do actual costs, okay? So thanks for coming and staying the entire, I want to let the audience know that Jody's with about 50 to 100 people here today, so we want to, just kidding, it's only Jody. So thank you. It's good to have good, healthy debate like that. Joe, can we, so thank you for bringing Public Works guy. I like this guy, okay? But Vector's coming in. I kind of, instead of him coming to the meeting, I'd actually want, it would be great to meet at that gentleman's house and that our resident tell him what he's been seeing for the last 4 years, to kind of make it, you know, because that's not what they're coming out and saying. Because when Vector was here last time, everything's hunky-dory, we take care of the mosquitoes. Because I even brought up, there's a bunch of water in there, how are you protecting it? And it's, now there's even more water, and according to our resident, I don't back up to the canals, I just drive by them, and it's backed up.
They're
So-
nasty.
Yeah, they're nasty,
They're really
exactly. So
nasty.
we need some explanation as to why they're so nasty. I like the word nasty. So let's, instead of him just, hey, come to the board, those are the questions the board had because of a resident's concern and our concern. Why are our canals so nasty looking? Why is there stagnant water? What are you doing to short-term fix that? We heard what the long-term is. It's going to be all concrete, hopefully someday, soon. So, thank you. All right. Yeah, I too want to thank Omero for his decades of service. And I mentioned to him when I came down, you know, maybe we have so many weeds, we should get a volunteer weed picking. One evening, we come down and we pick some weeds on our, if there's that many. Is there that many?
It's a weird kind of clovery thing. It's,
We hit some real hard rain.
it's,
Yeah.
again, from the distance, they
They
look
look
green and
but
beautiful.
when you walk on 'em-
All of a sudden you walk, you're all,
Okay,
ugh,
all right.
yeah.
I pull that thought. Let's see. Again, I want to thank you again that this MSR?
Yes,
What?
MSR.
MSR, okay. With LAPCO, I think is, again, I don't want to bring up contention with Rossmoor. I just want to be a fact-finding. What would it take? Maybe it's too much, maybe not, but the fact that he's running and he's coming here, and even though Jim said that he likes to come to our meetings other than when he's running, I only remember him coming when he's running.
Oh, he's
Has he been here?
not as much as he would
Okay.
imply, but he's
All
been
right.
here before. Yeah.
But I agree with President Maynard that we should be out in front of this
Yeah.
MSR coming to where if this board wants the information, okay, again, I don't know what's involved, so maybe our last MSR should be given to all of us so we can take a look and see what they analyze, what they've done, okay? But if this is an opportunity to gain more local control, right? Of course, the community's gonna have to have buy-in. It just starts with us asking some questions. We should do that, okay? Whether it's animal control, law enforcement or not, trash or not, but we should look into what is that process of gaining that local control, okay? And is it hundreds of thousands of dollars, or is it LAPCO, again, a state and county agency that our tax dollars pay for, helping us to determine if we are viable to do that? So, anyway, with that, everyone have a good month, and that's it. Thank you.
If I had a time machine, I'd go back to 1987 and with some sense, because we're on this board now. Some have been on the board longer than others. When just so personally know, when I say this board, I'm not just talking this board and how it represents itself now. I'm saying this board and future boards of the RCSD. And we have been handcuffed of what services we can provide. We are codependent on the county. There are ways around it. And the beauty of the whole MSR process is when we were trying to have other local control, we would have to go to LAPCO and pay for an MSR, and it was valued at $300,000 to review policing, to review animal control, to review. Again, if I had a timeline machine, I would have just checked everything off. Not saying we're going to do it, but at least the board now has the ability to work with the community, and if there's consensus, take more power. I've always said, I want more people in Rossmoor making decisions on Rossmoor. I've been very vocal about that, so I look forward to seeing if this really can be a cooperation. I've never been involved with an MSR. I know the acronym, which is more than you.
I know
Um,
it now. I've said it
you
15
know,
times.
But I do know that they're expensive, and putting on a history hat of what started the whole policing is the first MSR that I remember when I first moved to Rossmoor, and this is like, I moved in 2002, but the first MSR they did was like 2008, and it showed the police response times, or the sheriff response times, and everyone had a fit.
9 minutes, 10 minutes.
Everyone had a fit over it, and that caused action, including what can we do? And then when the coyote crisis hit, and we literally lost over 140 pets in Rossmoor, that went, so I do want to be on top of this. Anyone who wants to help, we can have extra meetings for this, but it would cost us $300,000 if we did it on our own. They, by law, have to do it, and they have to do it this year, so.
And I think, I'm sorry for interrupting, but I think in hindsight, instead of going to City Hall, we should have just went after the more of the local control items.
Yeah,
You
again,
know what I
time
mean?
machine.
Yeah.
Time machines work
We're
great.
foolish.
Time machines work.
Yeah.
Well, there's many things, so. But with all that said, I do also want to thank Omero. What a heart of gold that guy has. We've got a good staff. Every time I turn around, Joe, I'm meeting new people that you've hired. You've done a phenomenal job of creating a really good culture here for the staff. And I think Omero's actually part of that culture with his history. So I'm thankful that that you have a person who cares, his heart's in the right place, and just having likable people with good hearts is just phenomenal. So hire more people like Omero, if you don't mind. And with that, I'm going to now jump to general council items, Darkin. Wait for it.
Thank you, President Maynard. I have no items this evening.
All right. With that, guys, this meeting is adjourned.